the other person is always more than you can ever grasp.
I'm so grateful to have you here. Thank you for your time. I'll briefly introduce you. You hold a PhD in social policy, and you worked as a research professor at the Finnish National Institute for Health and Welfare in Helsinki. And you wrote to me that you devoted some 30 years of your lifetime developing network-oriented dialogic methods, in particular anticipation dialogues, which we are going to talk about today. Also, you wrote this book together with Jaakko Seikkula, and this is the German version, which I read with great interest, and maybe we come to that later. But firstly, I'd like to ask you, what would need to happen today, here and now, that this could be not just called an interview, but a dialogue?
Well, we'll just improvise. To sort of shortly, in just a few words, to define dialogue would be that it's not debate. In debate, you have arguments, and you're hoping that the best argument would win. You're trying to find who is on the top with the argument, and you have a lot of spaces where you need debate. Politics, for example, but science and so on. To find out the truth, it goes through debate. And you can also have all sorts of compromises. But that's another thing. In a compromise, everyone wins and loses, and you end up with something that's not quite what you would perhaps want to happen, but you're giving and taking, and that's a compromise. In dialogue, it's not debate. You don't argue, you don't try to make your argument win. You try to think together, to learn more, to expand your ideas, which doesn't mean that you end up with a compromise or that you become the other, which you can't, but you expand your understanding. And let's hope that we can expand our understanding through our dialogue.
Mm-hmm. Expanding. I like the thought of expanding. Also, I see behind there the little star of the 5 components of dialogical spaces. Maybe you could say something about that.
Okay, you mentioned that I've been concentrating on anticipation dialogues. We will be talking about that. And I've written about anticipation dialogues. More of that later, perhaps. But lately, I've been concentrating on dialogical space. There's been a lot of discussion about dialogical space, how to generate dialogical space between people. I've been inspired by some Japanese philosophers, mainly Kitaro Nishida, who really has this concept of space, ba, which is also always a physical space, space of presence, that you are not just there, but you are present with the people, and a mental space. He has these 3 dimensions, so to speak. And nowadays, the physical space, like we have now, can be also virtual, so that we are not in the same room, but we are sort of physically in contact. And the sense of presence is different when you are not there with the person. But surprisingly, which we learned over the COVID pandemic, that we had to do all sorts of virtual meetings and stuff, that actually it's not that remote, that it's possible to have this contact also. But the sense of presence is different. So I started to work. I've been inspired by the work of Michail Bakhtin from Russia, a great philosopher on dialogues, and also the Lithuanian French philosopher Emmanuel Levinas, and his work about otherness, and how we have to respect the otherness of people. So I started to combine these, and I came up with, well, depicted in a star, where you have these 5 dimensions at the same time. What inspires me, I'll explain it in short, but what inspires me is that I've had workshops around the dialogical space with people who are not professional or can be professional, can be of any profession, people from the street, also with patients, with clients, with handicapped people, with youth, with adults, with senior citizens, because all people have experiences of dialogue, even if they don't use the concept. We've opened up the experience. People talk about their own experience. They don't have to have any theoretical knowledge about it, and they can discuss. And I really liked how you can have you, workshops or meetings where you actually generate this dialogical space. You are doing this, and then you have a concept. Oh, what were we doing? So it's not just talk about dialogical space. You are making it. Doing. The first, which is on the top here, is that, of course, you have some sort of a physical space. Let's say you, Viktor, go to see a good movie by a good German director or Austrian director, and with friends, and you decide that, okay, after the movie we go somewhere and reflect, discuss. What did you think about it? Okay, you choose some sort of a physical space. Maybe not too noisy, maybe calm and cozy, some sort of a, okay, what sort of a physical space would be appropriate for a dialogue? For example, auditorium is not the best. You would maybe want a circle where people can see each other, not just the backs of people, front rows. Auditoriums were built in the time of monologues, in the sense that it's sort of epitomizing this one way sort of interaction where you have someone telling about proposing facts and stories to others, but it's not built for interaction where everyone would share, which you can try in. But the main point here is that what sort of a physical setting would be appropriate, helpful, fruitful. The second is that you and your friends would maybe not meet for just 15 minutes after a film. If you're 6 people, for example, for everyone to reflect together and have a word, you would need more time. So, okay, what you have the physical space, you have the temporal space, and within this temporal space, let's say you can spend half an hour at the cafe where you go, or an hour perhaps. Would everyone have their choice? Could everyone have their voice? How you sort of share the time? And if you're thinking of professional dialogues, how do you help people to think their own thoughts and reflect their thoughts? So how do you give them time to think? You could, for example, you could repeat verbatim what they said. You said that If you said that the director meant that in the film this is about the son and the father.
Mm-hmm.
You said that.
Mm-hmm.
Could you elaborate it? Could you tell me something more?
Mm-hmm.
So the other people hears their own words in another voice,
Mm-hmm.
and they can sort of get grips of their own thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Grips of their own thoughts.
Yeah, don't change the words. Use the
Yes.
same words,
Mm-hmm.
and don't interpret you meant
Mm-hmm.
this and this, because then it goes into debate. Well, I didn't mean exactly that. Try
Mm-hmm.
to follow just the words. It's always listen and follow what is said. Don't jump into interpretations.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, people have to interpret all the time in order to understand,
Mm-hmm.
but don't jump into it. Be cautious about this. Okay? Physical space, temporal space.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have social space. The basic thing is who are invited.
Mm-hmm.
You're a family therapist, if I understand. Do you invite the whole family? Do
Mm-hmm.
you invite just the family? Do you invite just the couple? Do you invite also the friends? Could it be someone important outside the family? An invitation is always excluding also. Someone is
Yes.
not invited.
Mm-hmm.
So why are we not inviting, for example, their best friends? Why are we inviting? Or you went to see the movie and you go to a cafe. Do we also invite the one who always thinks he knows everything? Okay. So, and if we do, what shall we do about it?
Mm-hmm. So do we invite the one who we think is going to be probably difficult,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
but we think it already before we are inviting him or her?
yeah. We try to say that okay, there's no time to go to the cafe, and then when this person, the difficult person, leaves, we whisper, okay, let's go to the cafe.
Mm-hmm.
How do we arrange the social space? But in the social space, how it's not just being there, it's about presence. How are we present for each other so that it's a welcoming situation?
Mm-hmm.
For example, in family therapy or any sort of social work situation, do people feel that okay, you are welcome here, it's us here now,
Mm-hmm.
not that you are representing some institute or so on. It's us as persons here, ready to listen. So, and in also how do you organize the social space? You know that in family therapy, for example, Tom Andersen's work from Norway about reflective structures has been quite influential, so that you might have two groups, one group discussing and the other group just listening, not commenting.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go to the other group, what did you think when you were listening? And they're not commenting to each other because no debate. Just, what did you think about this? Reflective structures. I don't think if you go after a movie that you would perhaps use this, but that's part of the social space. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then the mental space. These three, where shall we go, how to organize the time, and who to include. These you can plan in advance. Uh, but the mental space, you can't decide that I will be curious. You can try to do that, but that doesn't it, no guarantee that you are.
Mm-hmm.
But the mental space, and here the point of otherness of Levinas, which I find very demanding and inspiring, is that the other person is always more than you can ever grasp. I think I know my wife, but she is certainly more than I can ever grasp. And that's why I keep curious. That's why she is interesting to me. Every pupil, and this is by Buber about pedagogics. Every pupil is unique, not like you, not like the other, unique. So, are you really interested in the uniqueness of the person? And this is about the otherness. So, the mental space is the curiosity about otherness, the readiness to open up to something that is more grasp. So that people never are categories. People, okay, this is a teenager. Teenagers think like this. This is an immigrant. Immigrants from North Africa are like this.
Yes.
No one. These are unique individuals who have their experience. And I think, John Schotter's point, British sociologist,
yes,
is great about what is the psychological uniqueness of a person. That every person occupies a unique place in social relationships. There's no one else there. And I think that, with therapy and where family therapy came into the picture was that the experience of trying to just pick up someone from their relationships and then having psychotherapy for them and then sending them back to the relationships, it didn't work as expected. And the idea that, okay, they are in their life context, how about bringing more of the life context here?
So this is the relational view. Where does this relational view come from, actually?
Many sources. That would be a long,
Yeah.
if you think of Bateson, if you think of
Yes.
Margaret Mead, if you think of anthropology, if I think of how the network idea came into dialogical practices. One great influence was it was especially in Scandinavian countries, in Finland, but also I know that it was pretty influential in at least parts of Germany and so on. Network therapy, which came from the United States. There was a social worker and a psychologist who were working together. That, okay, why don't we bring the network in? Just not just the family.
Yes.
But the network.
Other professionals, social workers.
Professionals also, but if the
Friends.
family members might not be the most important support persons. It could be the best friend. It's always a good idea to ask, how about if we bring your best friend from the network? It doesn't have to be blood relations. Okay, who are important? Where did this come from? It came, Caroline Atniv, the social worker who developed this in the United States, was a Navajo. It came from the Navajo people because they thought that a wound in the person is a wound in the tribe. And you have to heal the tribe, not just the individual. So all these ideas, there are many sources of how to expand the idea of what is healing, where are the resources. There are all sorts of steps, which is not just psychology or psychotherapy. And it would be surprising where you would find, if you look at the work of Bateson and so on, you would go to anthropology and so on.
Mm-hmm.
These sources are really interesting, and I think that today when we talk about how to take into account the uniqueness of persons, how to avoid at the same time of isolating that unique individual from the network.
Mm-hmm.
And the question is, what are the important resources that we have
Mm-hmm.
in life? Okay, a simple question would be, if you're out of money, who do you turn to?
Mm-hmm.
If you're out of work, who do you turn to?
Yes.
If you lost your love and you're sad, who do you turn to?
Mm-hmm.
And you start to find out,
Mm-hmm.
okay, what are the important people in this person's life? Okay, do you want to, could we invite some of these? Could we have a dialogue together with them?
Okay.
My experience with, this is not a recommendation, but my personal experience is, bring in the best friend and it will be different.
Okay. So that's not, we still have one left.
And then the discursive space. How does the discourse, the actual dialogue, the interplay of openings and responses, how does that go? I think that here something that Michail Bakhtin wrote, I found very, very useful as a sort of guideline, is that every utterance is an invitation to responses.
Mm-hmm.
And utterances are not just words. It's the tone of voice. It's your facial expressions. It's your gestures. It's the way you stand or sit and so on.
Mm-hmm.
These are all utterances. And utterances are all invitations to responses.
Mm-hmm.
So in the discourse, what sort of invitations are you sending, so to speak?
Mm-hmm.
What sort of responses are you anticipating and expecting?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you want to see the film with your friends, and you have this mental space that I know what this was about, the relationship between the father and the son. This
Because
is what,
I'm a film scientist and I know I should know, and I
yeah.
explain the others how I see.
Yes,
Mm.
and someone is saying no, this was about just the environment and so on. No. Your mental space is that these people should begin to understand, which means that see the way I see it,
Mm.
and the discourse would easily go into what sort of responses do you then invite? Something like, oh yes, Viktor, as you say. That would be your expectation, and you'll be perhaps happy that okay, these people, they are starting to understand. And then someone would oppose you and say that no, it was not about the father and the son. You're wrong. I know more about the director, and I saw an article. It was an interview,
Mm.
and you are in a debate. Neither is expanding their understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And if you could invite the director, do you want to go into debate or would you listen and so on? So the discursive space is, are you listening? Are you responding? What sort of responses are you inviting?
Mm.
This is what creates the space. And what is important, I think, that the idea of dialogues could be enriched by something that Paul Rober and Jaakko Seikkula came up with when they were analyzing dialogical processes.
Mm.
And they noticed that there are certain dialogical moments but it's not wall to wall, all the time dialogical. There are all sorts of moments, and some are especially dialogical moments of responsiveness.
Mhm.
For example, someone saying, "What you said made me think. What you said about the director and the film made me think."
Mhm.
What you notice there that a collective subject of thinking is forming. It's not just one person and the second, it's thinking together.
Mhm.
And you have moments like this, responsiveness and joining.
Mhm.
And I think that it's sort of a consolation that, you're not dialogical,
Mhm.
24 hours with
Mhm.
non-stop. But there are dialogical moments. So what I'm aiming at with the dialogical space idea is that how do we try to arrange things so that it would be appropriate, fruitful
Mhm.
for dialogical moments to occur.
So why is that so important in the professional context? And you wrote in your book that it takes more effort to create these spaces in the professional context than in the private.
Well, uh, that's of course, putting it bluntly. There could be in private situations which are very difficult in this sense, but in professional situations, you are expected to help. You go to a social worker, you're expected to, okay, someone is in trouble, help. Uh, in therapy, psychotherapy, you're expected to help. People come for you to help. So you might be taking shortcuts in helping.
Mm.
And the shortcut is a sense of control. And control, I think that Jaakko Seikkula put it quite nicely when we had a discussion. We were rewriting one book, uh, and because it had to be translated, Italians wanted to translate it into Italian. We've written two books. The
Mm.
one you showed, we wanted to rewrite. Yeah, and sort of update. We didn't mean to rewrite it. We meant to update it.
Mhm.
So we started. We went to Jaakko's cottage. He's very skillful. He has built this cottage by himself. Okay, there we are, given time, and we went on long walks discussing, and then we came back to write.
Mm.
And at some point, Jaakko asked me, "Are we writing the same book?" and we had to discuss,
Mm.
and and this is before we rewrote. We were updating, and I asked Jaakko, uh, "You are writing about open dialogues
Mm.
and 7 principles that you get from research." A lot of people, now I want to emphasize, a lot of people think that you first had these 7 principles and then you tried to make the practice like this.
Yes.
No, this is from research where they were surprised that some things work, some don't. And they wanted to analyze what works, what doesn't. And they
Mm.
came up with 7 principles that, okay,
Mm.
if you call the network early and so on, well, if there's psychological continuation,
Mm.
if you go into dialogue, these things work. 7 principles.
Mm.
So he wrote about these 7 principles,
Mm.
as was in the previous book, the one that you showed. And I said that, Jaakko, dear Jaakko, my good friend, you are not in northern Lapland anymore. You are working in Jyväskylä at the university as professor, and you have a university clinic. You work together with a student. There are 2 of you, not a team. these are not acute psychiatric crisis cases like they were in Lapland. These are, for example, couples and the one person feels depressed. They come not within the 24 hours. They have a waiting list. You meet them, 2 people, not with a network, not immediately, not this. This 7 principles is from crisis work.
Yes.
And you're not doing crisis work. So what is the common core? Let's write about that, not about what was there. Something that is common to this work and would be perhaps maybe something that would be relevant in other contexts also. Okay, there's a change of context. Let's go to the core. Okay, we go for long walks. And I still remember the tree at which Jaakko stopped and he said, now I have it. Now I have it. It is, don't put your best means of control into practice.
Don't put your best means of control into practice.
This, because better things are coming.
Along the dialogue.
Yeah. So, he said that he was trained as a family therapist, and he has also psychoanalysis. He has a bag full of means of control. Okay, you take any systemic idea and you're trained as a family therapist, you have beautiful things of counter paradox or whatever. Okay.
I'm still in training.
Yeah, you see, systemic training, you see this situation, okay, this family you might help with a counter paradox or something like that.
Yes.
Okay, these are means of control.
Okay, and I'd like to sum up a bit for me, because I've heard so many things.
May I just say this?
Okay.
Because I said that, about the discursive space. Don't use means of control. And what for a professional, there's the temptation to help. Okay, they are expected to help. They want to help themselves. They help the family, help the clients, help the patients, and they have these means of control. And when you start to control with your means of control, no dialogue. You are aiming at your goal, and you are listening more to your goal. Now we are towards the goal, great. Now we are off the goal, off the path. I have to do something else to bring them back on the path. But dialogues mean that you listen. You listen. And you don't try to aim at a certain goal. You're aiming at relieving, helping in the sense that people leave these meetings more hopeful, but you don't have a certain goal that, okay, my counter paradox will then make this. So this is the sense that this is why professionals are more tempted control. This is why I wrote this. Because they're so helpful.
Yes, because they're supposed to be helpful. And in their training, when you say means of control, now I'm thinking, aren't they trained exactly for this?
Yeah.
And in whatever method you may have, not only systemic therapy, but also psychiatry, a doctor, or maybe an analytic therapist as well, trained to somehow be in charge of the situation. So I find it difficult to tell psychotherapists to say, get out of this control, let go. So maybe there are a lot of psychotherapists listening or watching, I hope. What do you advise then if they're thinking now, okay, well, I should not be in control, or I shouldn't use the best means of control to help. There's better things coming along the way.
Yes. Yeah.
What do you advise them, and what is coming along the way then? What is it? Can we grasp it?
Yeah. Trust dialogue, because better things are coming. But this is very difficult if you are alone. If you don't have a team, to have a colleague, to do it together, because the other one would help you not to start to control. But you are trained in all these, professionals are trained in all these methods that make them feel safer, because they have means of control. It feels unsafe not to use them, but because they know them, if they are well trained, they can sort of realize that, okay, this came to my mind. This came to my mind from training. Maybe I don't use it. What instead? Ask, tell me more about it. Repeat the words of the person. Encourage the person to talk more. Encourage the person to express, or turn to the other person if it's a family. Listening to what he or she said. What do you think? Bring polyphony in. So that if you have just, two single persons, the patients and you, it is more difficult. But if you have at least 4 people or 3 people, you and your colleague and the patients, or patients with a family member or friend, and if you have a colleague, great chances for polyphony. Listening to the other person, what do you think? Okay, opens up possibilities for dialogue.
Okay, maybe we should get more concrete about how you do it, because now we've heard a lot of great theory, and maybe let's talk about anticipation dialogues. What do you say?
Anticipation dialogues is something that I've been working with, and that's something that I feel safer to say something about.
Okay, so maybe our viewers or listeners don't know anything about it. Could you just what is it? What is an anticipation dialogue?
Okay, so I start with the context. 30 years ago, more than 30 years ago, when we started this, I was working at the Institute of Health and Welfare, National Institute in Finland, and we were asked, can we actually do something about difficult situations where social workers or psychotherapists or teachers come across situations where they get stuck, and I was inspired of this from my earliest work at the institute, when I left the teaching profession and went into social policy and research on social policy. My first field research was on social work. And these were social workers who were dealing with economic questions, but also family questions and so on. So a wide variety of work. And the field work very soon brought into the sort of a network picture, so that social workers are in a position where they very rarely meet clients who have not been clients of all sorts of professionals, psychologists or medical doctors or unemployment officers. Okay, because social work is last resort. Is in welfare offices. This was in welfare offices, so that the clients have experiences of other professionals also. And there might be other professionals present in the picture at that moment. So they're not visiting only this place, they're visiting other places at the same time. And I was, because my study was on social sciences, I was interested in sectorized work and fragmented work. And this was a showcase of fragmentation, because it looked like that the various professions that are in the picture have their definite sort of workload and work task. And basically, in the ideal case, if you count these all together, it's a good combination of comprehensive work.
Yes.
But instead, you have these silos, and you slice up the life of the life context of the client. You slice it so that your economical questions, your emotional questions, your educational questions, your housing are different things. But in life, they are not different things. They are in the comprehensive situation.
It's one life.
It's one life.
It's one life.
Yeah. You are in these situations, so that if you slice this up, you lose your object. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist as such. So how can we integrate work in the way that would be more lifelike? It would be not that it's okay because we have this management system and silo system, we have to slice it up. Can we actually integrate the sort of a platform? And this is when we started inviting. This was in the next, after the social work project, doing this with the because I then wanted to study the whole network.
So were these institutions, when you started it, were these institutions talking to each other about a system or a client system?
No.
Not at all. There was no helper conference or whatever.
They might have sort of that they were talking about the case.
Was the client present? Were the clients present to these talks? No.
So that a situation where we call this multi-helper situations.
You said multi-agency muddles.
Yes,
you wrote in your book.
Yeah, that you have. This comes from the work of Evan Imber-Black in America, and she studied from family. She passed away 2 years ago. A year ago, and she was a great theorist of family therapy, and she got interested in the 80s of situations where actually family therapists are meeting families and family members who are meeting others at the same time. She called it a larger system, and wrote about a family therapist's guide in the labyrinth, out of the labyrinth of systems. And in the 80s, I started writing to her. We made friends. She invited me to New York, and I invited her to Finland, and we started working together. And that's where I developed this idea that, okay, multi-agency models, where I was doing field work, I noticed that every professional, if you look at them, you take the family therapist, you take the medical doctor, the physician, you take the person from the unemployment offices, you take the social worker dealing with financial problems, take the teacher of the child of the family in school. Separately, they are all doing what they should, by the book. But you combine this and they get stuck. It's not working. This is not a crisis situation. Sometimes it works, but a lot of times they get stuck in the sense that no one is, the family is not, and none of the professionals are satisfied or where the things are going because they are not going anywhere.
And this was something you experienced yourself, or you heard from the professionals that they are stuck. It's not.
I experienced and I interviewed and I heard and if I guess asked them, do you feel stuck? Certainly. And what we did was experimental social study, in the sense that not just observing that, okay, what a muddle, great, I write about it, and sort of position myself above that I saw you doing all sorts of mistakes and write a report. But the idea that the study should be useful for these people, that it's not about objects, it's with them, for them. So in my dissertation, I wrote about how to make tools for people, concepts or tools and practices, and then do it, experiment together with the people. We started experimenting, how do you get unstuck? Okay, so we asked, with a colleague of mine, we asked these professionals, we had projects in 2 various cities, and we asked them, all the people who are working with children, adolescents and families, all these, from police to social workers, from family therapists to medical doctors and so on, the whole set, which is quite a variety. Asked them, do you have cases where you feel stuck? Yes. Would you want to experiment on something that could perhaps get you unstuck? So the response was, you think you have something? This is, they have been trying to get unstuck the whole professional life. And then someone comes, would you want to experiment something? And they said, oh, okay. So in the first phase, we said, could we have meetings with you all together? All those people who are working at the same case, not just, you are a social worker, okay, come.
Okay.
So, from as representing your institution, agency, but you are working with the same case.
Was this the first time that they experienced some kind of togetherness with the other professionals?
Yeah. Yes.
So that was before you developed anticipation dialogues.
Yeah, this was when we started developing anticipation dialogues, and they had never met all of them together. It would be, for example, a social worker with a medical doctor could meet. Social workers with other professionals, but for example, the medical doctor very seldom with anyone else, or the family therapist could meet with the medical doctor, but not the whole crowd. So there's the whole crowd. There might be 6, 7 people. It would be, in Finland, it would be easier to have several professionals than the family members. There would be a variety, especially in these stuck cases. Okay, so we have a stuck case, and it's very important that these are people who are personally involved. They're not representing an institution. Okay? So that they have something that John Schotter called knowing from within. He distinguishes between 3 ways of knowing. Knowing what something is, knowing how to operate, and knowing from within the relationship. That is knowledge that you have only in the relationships. Yes. So we wanted these people, not only what and not know how. It could be someone experienced in the profession but not connected. These are connected people. knowing from within. Okay, and then because we had been developing, and especially my colleague S.A. Eriksson, method of anticipations for psychologists in individual work.
Okay. It started with individual work.
Yeah, there was a project at the University of Tampere in Helsinki, in Finland, the city of Tampere, where they experimented with the anticipations in psychological work, so that you're a psychologist, you are meeting a client,
Okay.
and you want to know where you stand
Mm-hmm.
in the relationships and in the sort of process. Make an anticipation.
Mm-hmm.
Think of something useful that you could say or suggest or ask, and make an anticipation what the response will be.
Okay.
Okay. For example, you ask, what do you think your father would say if he heard we are meeting? You think that would be useful? And the patient will say, he would not like it. Okay. Write it down. Then experiment, ask this, and come back to your anticipation. You might be, okay, that's exactly what he said, or said something else. Then you would know that, okay, exactly what I thought, anticipated, okay, I might be on the path, I might understand, or something totally different. My father would say, yeah, I want to join, and so on. Oh, I didn't, that's something different. That would be helpful. This was the idea. We took this into network context in the sense that we asked each person. These are, in the first phase, professionals, not the family present.
Yes, not the family present. Yes.
And we asked them these questions. The original version was that separating talking and listening, so that, when one is talking, the others are listening and not commenting. And the first question for them would be, what happens if you do nothing? We got this question from Evan Imberblack. It's a surprise. It's something has to be done. Okay, you have all these ideas of control. Okay, what happens if you do nothing? And then they were really curious of listening to the social worker and the psychiatrist and so on. Oh, do they think so? And then they started, if we do nothing, who would they turn to? Does anyone know? Do they have relatives in the city? And what came so vividly on the table was that they know very little about the social network, and they started to understand that we need this knowledge, and they all turned to the social worker. You are a family therapist, okay? Well, they knew about the family, but not about the rest. And then who would they turn to? And they all said, okay, they would turn to the social work, and the social worker is listening. For once I am appreciated. And the second question was that what would be helpful and maybe appropriately different, a bit different of what you've been doing. Could you do something appropriately different?
Okay. So for
this, systems therapy, that this comes from systems ideas.
Difference that makes a difference.
Yes. Yeah. More of the same, no change. Too different, no change.
Okay.
Appropriately different, you might get change. Okay.
So
we borrowed.
I'm thinking about the practitioners watching, and I'm thinking, because everybody's hungry for solutions to get unstuck, and I was imagining the situation where you ask do you have client systems where you feel stuck and then you say, I've got something for you? You get, so what is it that you have in your pocket now? So because I heard the development, but I feel that maybe our viewers are now hungry for what is it
coming.
what you have in your pocket.
Yeah, it's in my pocket. It's around the corner. Patience. Yeah, but the first question: what would happen if you do nothing? What could you do appropriately different? And they anticipated. They thought that okay, I could do this, I could do that. And what is important here? What could you do? Because in stuck situations, you are full of ideas what others could do because you've tried everything. And you think that the social worker should do this, the teacher should do this. And I've done study, I've seen dozens of meetings where people are pointing to others with the expectation of change, and the others are defending themselves. Okay, we can't do this. You should do this. There are tennis matches between social workers and teachers, for example, going back and forth. So, talk about yourself. What could you do? And that's a big change. And if they start talking about others, which okay, yeah, let's talk about what could you do appropriately different. And if you're thinking of what you could do appropriately differently, you have to think, what have I done so far? So it's a good reflective question. So, different. Okay. And they might say that, what I've been doing so far, I could go on. And okay, if you think that's helpful. The third question is, what happens if you do it? Who responds and how? There's the network, there's the anticipation. And even if you're the best professional that you can get into the situation, you can have your hands on. You can't guarantee that this is what happens. You are guessing, and they're all once in the professional life, they're all equal. The top psychiatrist and the bottom kindergarten teacher or whoever is in bottom in the hierarchy, they are all at the same level, guessing what happens, who responds and how. And they were very curious. So in my pocket, it was a huge success. They were interested in each other. They were not directing their expectations of change to others. They didn't have any room for it. We were sort of determined that, okay, we're talking about you one at a time with others listening. And then you were talking about stuff like that, and could you actually do that? What are the next steps? And they were full of ideas that, okay, and they were smaller because, I've noticed that the expectations for change tend to be too huge, too big. Small change, if it connects with other changes, and other changes could make a difference. And that's what happened. They were really happy about it, and they put this into practice. We started training people. We did more experiments, and it was great all the time. And in the middle of this was in the 80s, I became dissatisfied, full of shame. Not the right thing to do.
Why?
At the same time, Jaakko Seikkula and colleagues were doing open dialogues in northern Lapland. I knew their work. At that point, I wasn't in direct contact with Jaakko, but I got into contact. And what they did was that they joined a project in Finland of need-based therapy, and with the idea that, okay, make open meetings where you don't have a plan in advance,
Yes.
but you make the plan together in an open meeting.
The client is present.
Yeah.
Always present. Concern.
Yeah. And the family there. And they said that, it was chaos in the beginning because they couldn't use, they couldn't resort to a plan that they had made, and they lost the means of control. And they had to find them, either we step back to work as it was, we make a plan and then we sell it to the family, great plan of their life, and then we sell it to the family. Maybe they like it, maybe they don't, and then more selling if they don't. But now we don't want to go back to this. We have to come into terms with this, and this is when they started to develop more dialogical practices. They didn't call it dialogues, but Jaakko got in the hold of Bakhtin's work. He reads Russian, and his ex-wife at that time said that what you're talking about sounds very much like, because she was reading Bakhtin's work, like what Bakhtin has written. Wow, this is let's call this dialogues. And we were meeting just the professionals. It was a great success, but I was ashamed. This is more of the same behind the backs of people.
Okay, behind the backs of the people, I'd like to make a point here, because I was thinking, now we've discussed dialogical spaces, we've discussed the way towards dialogue in multi-behavioral situations, and maybe in the second part of our interview we can come to what you have in your pocket for the people listening. So
okay,
we make a point, and I say thank you for listening. Thank you out there for listening and watching. And if you're interested, it's a bit of a suspense how it goes on, or it did go on, with anticipation dialogues, then watch the second part.
Okay, and I'd like to just a piece of curiosity, because we then asked the people. I said that we're still working behind the backs. This is not ethical. This is working, but not the way that maybe there are better things. Could you please next time, if there's a case, depending on the people and depending on the case, those professionals and the clients, could you bring them? And this got us totally unprepared. We had a meeting where actually I noticed that these could be family members. We are not prepared. The same question we can't use. We had to change everything.
You had to change everything.
Everything.
Okay. I think everybody's very curious right now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay, thank you, Viktor. It was great that I could sort of come back to these ideas. It was, if you can call it research is fun to do it. It was, because it was great, inspiring.